For the scatterplot example, we're going to be creating a scatterplot that shows the relationship between pull-ups, which we are identifying as our independent variable, and push-ups, which we're identifying as our dependent variable. When we insert a scatterplot, the order in which your columns are organized is important. So typically, let's say we wanted to create a scatterplot between pull-ups and plank time. If we highlighted these two pieces or two columns of data, pull-ups would automatically be put on the x-axis and plank time would be put on the y. So we can test this out, or if you wanted to, you could rearrange your columns by like inserting a column here and then copying your push-up data and pasting it next to the pull-ups. That way you're kind of set up to kind of copy your stuff into your graph. Alternatively, we could just highlight our pull-up data, press and hold the Command key to select a separate set of data. We then go to Insert and choose like a regular scatterplot. And then take note of the unit values on each axis. So number of pull-ups should be reflected between values of 1 and 20, which it is. And then the y-axis should reflect the values that our push-up range lands within. If for some reason your columns got switched, so let's say that pull-ups were, or the pull-up units were on the vertical axis and your push-up values were on the y, or on the x, what you can do is go to Select Data, and then you'll see an area for your x values and an area for your y values. All you have to do to switch these is simply click on the Chart Selector tool and then select the appropriate column. The current selection should have like this green dotted rotating symbols kind of going around the area. So if you wanted to change that area, you just select a new section and then you can go back into this Select Data dialog box. I'm going to change this back to my pull-up data since it was organized the correct way to begin with. And then from here what we can do is add our axes titles. And I'll label this pull-ups versus push-ups. With my number of pull-ups on my x-axis, good gravy, and my number of push-ups. Let me move that out of the way, on my y-axis. Oftentimes when we make scatter plots, we might also want to add a linear trend line, which we could do by going to Add Chart Elements, Trend Line, and Linear. If we double click on that trend line, we are able to format it. So if I wanted to make it stand out on my graph by changing the color or the weight of the line, I can easily do that in my formatting toolbar. Sometimes we might also want to add an equation or an r-squared value. These will end up being particularly useful when we start talking about correlations and regressions. But if you're ever wondering if there is a relationship in your scatter plot between your two variables that you've plotted, usually the trend line will help to tell you how strong that relationship is. So the more or the steeper your trend line is going from this bottom left-hand corner to the top right-hand corner, that would indicate a positive relationship, whereas one variable increases, the other one increases. If you had a downward pointing slope of your trend line, that would indicate a negative relationship, whereas one variable increases, the other one decreases. The actual meaning of the equation and the r squared value aren't going to really be important until after exam 1, but these are some different chart elements that you can add to a scatter plot. We can also adjust our x and y axes values by double-clicking on the axis of interest. And then in our axis formatting section, if, let's say, I wanted to change my maximum value to 20, okay, I could keep it at 25. I could change the units by which my values are increasing or decreasing, depending on how you want to look at that. And then I can do the same type of formatting on my y-axis. So once you have kind of stuck your data in here, I would recommend you guys could try plotting, like plank time versus push-up. And then if you wanted push-ups on the x-axis, you wanted plank time on the y-axis, like practice how you would switch those based on the current organization that the data show up in the spreadsheet as of now. Okay. If you have any questions on scatter plots or changing which variables on which axis, please email me if it doesn't end up working out on your computer.